minutes. So I gotta try to readjust here within the time.
You're missing one.
Ready? I think it's like, that's very good.
It's easy, though, like last week, I was just, I needed to shout out, last week I didn't come because I needed.
What do you think? Guess we're gonna try this out today.
Don't make that happen. Are you exhausted? You still packing, aren't you? Yeah. The thought of moving is terrible.
The song is not up there. That's not it. What was the name last time? Something that
We'll go ahead.
That opens for us.
I think we are those guys.
Ready? This is time to start. So hey Matt, we're running off of this camera tonight?
Yes.
I got a dead battery.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's red. Does that mean something? light crowd tonight. Let's go to Lord in prayer. Say hi to those that are on YouTube. We're trying a new camera out, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out for you, but we'll find out. And we'll see what the Lord's got for us tonight. Lord, thank you for your faithfulness, and we just ask, Lord, that you would help us to get our eyes, our hearts, our thoughts, our affections on you, Lord. Let's pray, Lord, as we get into your word would get into us. Lord, as we worship you with song, Lord, may we just sing with our whole heart unto you. And we thank you that you're so good to us, so faithful. I just want to say we love you, Lord. I want to lift up Allison to you and ask, Lord, that you would minister your grace to her, Lord, and your healing hand upon her. And we thank you, Lord, for being so good to us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross for the dearest and best, for a world lost for sinners was slain. So I cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Oh, the old rugged cross, so despised by the world, as a wondrous attraction to me. For the dear Lamb of God left his glory above to bear it on dark Calvary. And I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. To the old rugged cross I will never be true, its shame and grief will gladly bear. Then he'll call me someday to my home far away, where his glory forever I'll share. Then I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown.
Good job, Scott. Good.
Let's have an award real quick.
Yeah. All right, this next one might be a little bit new to you. We all just really like this song a lot. And hopefully it comes out as good. It sometimes does when
Does
we
at home.
practice. Yeah. This one's called Some Call It Heaven.
name, and for the saved by grace, there is a resting place, the free morning will be mine. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Some call it dreaming, let me dream on. Some call it paradise, somewhere beyond the skies. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Someone said you can go back home again. Nothing will ever be as good as they've been. Well, I've got good news for you. When heaven comes in you, the music bells yet to come. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Some call it dreaming, let me dream on. Some call it paradise, somewhere beyond the sky. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Some call it dreaming, let me dream on. Some call it paradise, somewhere beyond the sky. Some call it heaven, I call it home. Some call it heaven, I call it home.
All right, we're gonna have to figure a name out for this band. Do we got one more?
Let's leave already.
I'm just used to two. You guys are spoiling me.
Two
We
is last.
do have one more, so.
All right, let's do it.
If we haven't worn out our welcome. So.
We're taking a request, but we're gonna stay no matter what you say, okay?
All right, well, this song's been on my heart here for a couple, 3 weeks. It's called Have Thine Own Way, Lord. There's just so many things in life that the only way to victory through them is just humbly bowing before the Lord and saying, Have Thine Own way. And trying to learn that lesson for myself. So, all right, Have Thine Own way. 1, 2, 3. Have thine own way, Lord. Have thine own way. Thou whiter than snow. Wash me just now, as in thy presence, humbly I bow. Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way. Wounded and weary, help me, I pray. Power of power, surely is thine. Touch me and heal me, Savior divine. One more.
All right. Yeah, we gotta figure out a name for you guys. The Three Amigos. We're gonna be in Genesis 30. Holly and I got to go watch a movie yesterday, The Great Awakening. If you haven't seen that, what an awesome movie. And I'm telling you, they just pushed the gospel like no compromise. It was good. And watching the preacher there, John Whitfield, his drive, his dedication, his love for the Lord, man, I got seriously convicted. Like, this guy would go preach to 10,000 people in a city, jump on his horse, ride 50 miles and go preach another one to another 10,000. And they say he reached more colonists at that time than even George Washington. And quite the evangelist. And he was a big part why we had the revolution, because people were coming to the Lord by the tens of thousands, and they understood they weren't supposed to be under the rule of a king, but only the king. And so, but it was interesting how they did the story, because they did it kind of through Benjamin Franklin, who had the printing press and became good friends with him, and then he left him all his transcripts. And so Benjamin Franklin was telling his grandson about Whitfield, and Benjamin Franklin in the movie didn't get saved till the very end. But it was a great movie. Yeah, makes you just want to get up and shout, Jesus, hallelujah. But and you know, the Lord's had his hand move in this country several times. And you know, it's called the Great Awakening, and in the movie anyways, his main message was, it's time to wake up. And I think we need another It's Time to Wake Up church, because there's just a lot going on. A lot of compromise going on in the church. So another thing I want to share was, there's Hadley, she's up there, she's looking down at everybody. Letitia had her knee surgery and it went great. Matter of fact, it was kind of interesting, because we're going to visit her, and we get there, the hospital, and they're getting ready to release her. So I was like, already? So, and she looked great. She wasn't in pain at that time. And so just keep them in prayer for a speedy recovery. And yeah, that was encouraging. But yeah, because I've heard about people having knee surgery, and you know, but that was probably the fastest recovery one I've seen. So God's good. All right, Genesis 30, and just to kind of catch you up, Jacob. You guys remember last week? Jacob meets Rachel at the well, and then he meets her dad, Laban, and who really took him to school on if you were to go to school on how to manipulate people. Jacob got schooled. Let's just put it that way. And so Jacob, you know, fell in love with Rachel, and he told Laban, "I'll work for you 7 years." For Rachel, and after the 7 years was up, he puts the veil over his oldest daughter Leah, and they go get married, and he realizes he's been duped the next morning. So then he works another 7 years for Rachel, and so Jacob's married to Leah and Rachel, and Leah was kind of the outcast, right? She was unloved, and God saw that. God saw her being the outcast and being unloved, and so it says he opened her womb, and she had four boys: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. And so as we continue through 30, we're going to see the rest of the tribes of Israel being born. And I don't know. I mean, I just think, you know, I know the Lord does not approve of polygamy. He never has. Even though he still can work through it. He works through our sinful nonsense, I guess. But just interesting to me how the 12 tribes of Israel are birthed through 4 different wives. It's so, and you know, it's definitely a lot of chaos going on. And wherever you saw multiple wives in the Bible, you don't see a lot of peace in the house. And so, chapter 30, verse 1, it says, "Now, when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob, 'Give me children, or else I die.' Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel, and he said, 'Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?'" Now, Rachel, remember, she was the beautiful sister. She was the one that was favored. She was favored not only in the marriage, but she was favored in the household. And she was the favored one. And now she's on the other side of the fence. She's the one envying. I can imagine Leah was probably always the one envying Rachel, and now Rachel is envying her sister. And you got to remember, at that time, it was a disgrace. You were shamed. It was you know, considered that the gods or God was angry with you if you didn't have kids, if you didn't have any children. And so Leah's already had 4 kids, and Rachel hasn't been able to conceive at all. And so she's envious. In Proverbs 14:30, it tells us, "A sound heart is life to the body, but envy is rottenness to the bone. And then in James 3:13, it says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and strife, self-seeking in your hearts, do not boast and lie against the truth. This wisdom does not descend from above, but it is earthly, sensual, demonic, from where envy and self-seeking exist. Confession in every evil thing, confusion in every evil thing are there. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, peaceful, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy, full of good fruit, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Now the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace." But we see the spirit of envy, and everyone here could say we've dealt with it in one way or another. But the spirit of envy, it's not from above. And Rachel has got this envy because her sister's got 4 kids. She can't have kids. And it's interesting here because look at the source she goes to. She goes to Jacob. Now, as we continue on, we're going to see Rachel. She's still a worshiper of idols. She's not a worshiper of Jehovah. And so she turns to Jacob. That's the resource she looks to. Hey, give me children, And it's interesting her saying here, give me children or else I die. And the reason why I think this is interesting is because her second child, she dies. It's like, it comes to pass as she spoke it. And then there in verse 2, Jacob's anger arouses against Rachel and says, hey, am I in the place of God? And I think sometimes, in our situations, in our distress, or in our desire to want something so bad, we can look to the wrong source. Rachel's looking to the wrong source. She's looking to her husband when she should be looking to Jehovah. If you guys remember, Leah, she finally came around and she said, thank the Lord for her son and sons. And so, Rachel, we see, or not Rachel, but Leah had that little relationship with the Lord where Rachel has no relationship with the Lord yet. But the womb's closed and she's looking to Jacob, and it's quite obvious Jacob's pretty fertile. And so verse 3, it says, so she said, here is my maid, Bilhah. Go into her, and she will bear a child on my knees, that I also may have children by her. And then she gave him Bilhah, her maid, as a wife. And Jacob went into her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. And then Rachel said, God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. And Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestling I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed. So she called his name Naphtali. So Rachel kind of does what Jacob's grandma did, right? In trying to make things happen on her own. This was a common practice back then. If you couldn't have kids and you had a maidservant, she could go in and you would almost be on your knees. You'd be like performing having the birth, but you weren't. Now, I don't know about you, but I mean, Rachel treats us like she actually had the kids, right? I think she's going a little mental, but but maybe her desire or her competition with her sister is just so great that she sees it as a time to this is how I'm going to have my kids. It's going to be through my maidservant. But God gives 2 more kids. Interesting. One is we have Dan, and Dan means or judge, as if to say God has ruled in my favor, right? And then Naphtali, which means my wrestling. She was catching up to her sister, who she wasn't used to losing, and so they kind of named the kids just however they were feeling. How you gonna name the kid? Well, that kid, I'm itchy today. I think the kid's name is Itchy. It's however you're feeling, I guess. Verse 9, it says, and when Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. And then Leah said, a troop comes, as she called his name Gad. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore a second son. Then Leah said, I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed. So she called his name Asher. Asher is number 8. If you guys remember last week, I think we talked about it, but this was all in a 7-year span. So you got a lot of little rugrats running around. And so, these kids are all growing up together and really close to the same ages. But Gad means troops, so it's almost as if she's saying I got reinforcements coming, right? My sister's not going to catch me. I'm going to have more than her. And then Asher speaks of happy and for being for having so many sons. And then let's see. And then verse 14 it says, now Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. And then Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's mandrakes. But she said to her, it is a small matter that you should have taken away my husband. Would you take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. And then Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes. And he lied with her that night. Kind of a lot there, but it's interesting. The mandrake is kind of a root. And this was known to make you fertile. So the fable of the day was that this root would make you fertile. And it was rare to find, and it was also very valuable. And so, here's Rachel once again. She wants to have a kid of her own. I mean, even though she's had some with her servant, in her mind, she knows she really wants one. So she's thinking mandrakes are the answer to her solution. And I don't know about you, but I think we can kind of see who's ruling the roost in the household there, Rachel, tells her sister, well, okay, I'll give you permission to sleep with your husband tonight. And then, she comes running out, hey, I bought you for the night. I mean, you want to talk just about dysfunction. I don't know if it gets much worse, but and so, so Jacob sleeps with her in verse 17, and God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. So it's interesting that Leah sells her mandrakes. Those are supposed to make you more fertile. And then she conceives again. It's almost like it backfired on Rachel, her little scheme and her little conniving. And verse 18, and Leah said, God has given my wages because I have given my maid to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. And then Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, God has endowed me with a good endowment. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have borne him 6 sons. And so she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. So we see Leah, after a spell of not being able to have kids, God opens her womb back up. She has 2 more. She has a total of 6, right? And then we have 4 more with the maidservants. There's 10 little rugrats running around, and she's blessed. She names Zep or Eskar, which means hire, because he was back pay for her, right? She was able to hire him out with the mandrakes. And then Zebulun, which means habitation. And maybe thinking this was her security to be able to be with Jacob, and this would be her ticket in. And then it also talks about a daughter they had, Dinah, and this means judgment. Verse 22, and then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her. So we can kind of see that Rachel goes into, kind of turns towards the Lord through all this. And Rachel, and God listens to her, and he opens her womb, and she conceives and bores a son, and says, God has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph, and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. Now, Joseph means may God add. And I kind of was kind of thinking about this. Here's Rachel. She's been desperate to have a kid. She's been wanting a child, and she gets a child, and what's she name him? I want more. Right? And isn't that our nature? Right? We're not content with what God gives us. We want more. If I just have a little more. If I just get a little more. And we fail to really be content. And in 1 Timothy, I can find it. I usually mark them, but I didn't mark that one. 1 Timothy 6:6. It says, now godliness with contentment is great gain. Right? But the problem is a lot of us just aren't content. We have a little, we want a little more. We see here with Rachel, And she finally, God blesses her with a son, and she names him, I Want More. And I tell you, you know, we could fall into the trap. I mean, you know, we could fall into the trap. You know, we have a vehicle, or I need a car. I want a car. We get a car, and we're like, well, I like another car. And you know, I think I got 3 or 4 work trucks. I don't need that many work trucks. How did I end up with that? I don't know. I don't want more work trucks. But you know, we can fall in that trap. We're just not content. Or I was even thinking about, you know, for us guys, you know, when we get a gun, it's like, okay, I got a gun, but you know what? I probably could use another gun. And then, I don't know, it's like you can never have too many guns. You know, but we're not content. We're not content with what God gives us. You know, like get a horse and you gotta have 2. And then 3, and then it just keeps going. But now godliness with contentment is great gain. And I love how Paul says this, for we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we will carry nothing out. He says, it's certain. Everything you brought in, you're not carrying it out. You're not taking it with you. Nothing. And then it says, and having food and clothing, with these you shall be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men's in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. So, you know, godliness with contentment is great gain. And Paul just narrows it all the way down to food and clothing. Now, I don't know about you, but I would have a hard time being content with just food and clothing. You know, I kind of like the roof over my head and you know, certain ways of life that I enjoy, but like not having to walk here to go to church. But if it came down to where all that stuff stripped away, would you still be content? And Rachel, she was not content. She wanted more. She had her son Joseph, and you guys know we're going to be spending some time learning about Joseph as he gets sold into Egypt. But I think for us, we need to learn, you know, to be content. Do you understand that what God has blessed you with, how good He's been to you? Everything that we have is a blessing from Him. I was kind of thinking about it, you know. I mean, God has blessed me far beyond I could ever imagine. I mean, He has just opened the floodgates of heaven on my life. And for me, not to be content, I think would be like a slap in His face. You know, it'd be like, God, I want more. And if you get really right into the doctrine of the name it, claim it preachers, that's really what they're all about. They're all about more of this world. And we should want less of this world and more of God. And, you know, watching that movie with Whitfield, I mean, that guy, you know, he was just all in. He didn't want anything in this world. Matter of fact, everything, and he became so famous, I mean, he was making a lot of money, but it all went to an orphanage. And he really didn't have a desire to partake of this world. And and I guess I'll just bring it right on back to Rachel. Rachel was not content. And maybe because it's that, I don't know, you guys have that competition spirit in you, where you compete with your siblings. And she's competing. I mean, it's obvious she's competing, and she's still behind, but I think it would just been such a blessing. But she has Joseph, and then she wants more. Verse 25, it says, "And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph and Jacob, that Jacob said to Laban, send me away that I may go to my own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go. For you know my service which I have done for you." And Laban said to him, "Please stay. If I have found favor in your eyes, I have learned to experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake." And then he said, "Name your wages, and I will give it." So here we go. Laban's doing the manipulation thing again. Jacob's understanding that it's time to leave, and we'll see in 31 that God is the one speaking to Jacob to get out. But not only was Jacob a hard worker, but we see this Laban, the pagan worshiper, right? He sees God blessing. He sees he's getting blessed because of Jacob. I mean, he sees God's hand on him. And yet Laban, he wants the blessings of God. He wants the blessings for himself, but he doesn't want to humble himself before God. He continues to follow his idol worshiping. And so he wants Jacob to stay because he understands that God's hand's upon him. And then there in verse 28, Laban says, hey, I want you to stay. I want you to stay so I can be blessed. What will it cost me? What will it cost me to keep you around? And, Laban is working another angle. He's working another angle. And so verse 29, it says, "So Jacob said to him, you know how I have served you and how your livestock has been with me. For what you had before I came was little, and it has increased to a great amount. The Lord has blessed you since my coming, and now when shall I also provide for my own house?" So he said, "What shall I give you?" And Jacob said, "You shall not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep your flock. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from there all the speckled and spotted sheep, and all the brown ones among the lambs, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats, and these shall be my wages. So my righteousness will be answered for me in time to come, when the subject of my wages comes before you. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the lambs, will be considered stolen if it is with me." So here Jacob is like, I've made you wealthy, and now it's time for me to move on and provide for my family. He's got 12 actually, with the daughter running around, and so he it's time to break away. And so we see Jacob now is working an angle. Jacob says, hey, give me all the speckled goats and the off-colored goats, right? The ones that are spotted. And really in that time, and even today, those are very rare in the Middle East. And so, and then we see, you know, those ones weren't as valuable either. So really he's saying, give me the ones that aren't that valuable. You know, they're kind of the outcasts of the I guess the goat and sheep world. And then Laban says, and it's interesting because Jacob is working a con here, right? Jacob, he's got a little plan. And Laban says, oh, that it were according to your word. So he removed that day the male goats that were speckled and spotted, all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had some white in it, and all the brown ones among the lambs, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And then he put a 3-day journey between him and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flock. So Laban says, let's make a deal, good deal. And then the first thing Laban does is get rid of all the ones that he made a deal for, and gives them to his son and says, get them about 3 days out of here because we're not giving them to Jacob, right? So they're both playing a little con game here, and they're both trying to work an angle. But Jacob doesn't get too discouraged. Now Jacob took for himself rods of green poplar and of the almond and of the chestnut tree, and peeled white strips in them, and exposed the white with which was in the rods, and the rods which he had peeled he set before the flocks in the gutters and in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink, so that they should conceive when they came to drink. And so the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks brought forth speckled, or streaked and speckled and spotted. And then Jacob separated the lambs and made the flocks face toward the streaked and all the browns and the flocks of Laban. But he put his own flocks by themselves and did not put them with Laban's flocks. So now Jacob, I read a bunch of different commentaries on this method. It's not a proven method. There's it might have been the fable of the day. Maybe, you know, this is what you do. I don't know. But whatever, I mean, we will see in 31 that God tells Jacob, you want to spot it and stripe it and speckle and goats and sheep. And so God directs him in this area, and why he did all that, I don't know. I mean, I can't even spiritualize that one. But he does it, and it works. And but he's smart now, right? He's catching on. Laban's been taking all the spotted ones. He's taking them all. So now they're getting separate, right? These are mine. You got 2 herds he's looking after now. And so then in 41, and it came to pass, whenever the stronger livestock conceived, that Jacob placed the rod before the eyes of the livestock in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the flocks were feeble, he did not put them in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. Thus, the man became exceedingly prosperous, and had large flocks, female and male servants, and camels and donkeys. So We see God's blessing. We can see Jacob working that angle again, okay? The weak ones, the stronger ones, we're gonna have them eat and drink with the bark in the water, and we're gonna build our flock's gonna be big and strong, and Laban's gonna be weak and feeble, and Jacob working an angle. And, I don't know. Usually when you get conned or you get duped by somebody, then you have an easier time duking them back, I guess you'd say. Your conscience isn't so bright. But we see here we're still going to have one more son born. He's going to be Benjamin. And then Rachel will pass away when Benjamin's born, and that will give us the 12 tribes of Israel. I just kind of wanted to give you the symbolism of each one. With Judah, his symbol is the lion. The traits are leadership, kingship, strength, right? Noble, the royal line of David, and we know that Jesus would come through the line of Judah. Reuben's a symbol of water. Its traits was instability. Notable for Reuben, he was the firstborn. His legacy really never rose to prominence. Simeon, symbol of the sword. His trait was they were violent. They were known for and judged for cruelty. Their legacy was that they kind of absorbed into the tribe of Judah and Judah's territory. Levi, a symbol of priesthood. Its traits, religious service to the Lord. Its legacy, they never did inherit any land, but they were to live and trust off the Lord. The Lord was their portion. Benjamin, a symbol of a wolf. Its traits were fierce warriors. They were the tribe of King Saul, right? The tribe of Benjamin was King Saul, who was the first king of Israel, who knuckleheaded out and stumbled. And then you had Dan. Dan was a symbol of the serpent. So its traits was judgment, cunning, noted for idolatry. Matter of fact, when you go into and read the 12 tribes of Israel in Revelation, where each, 144,000 each tribe had, so many, and the tribe of Dan's not even mentioned in there. And a lot of people think the reason why is because of the idolatry, but not saying that there weren't people from the tribe of Dan that didn't come to the Lord. It was just that 144,000, they weren't mentioned. And then Naphtali was a symbol of a deer. Its trait was freedom, swiftness. They were associated with beautiful words, blessings. Their legacy was the northern tribe region. Later important in Jesus' ministry. So they were important to the Lord's ministry. Gad, what means troop, or they were warriors. They were known for having great courage and for their military strength. Asher, it was known as olive tree. Its traits were prosperity, rich land. They had a legacy of blessed with material wealth. So Asher really was one that would carry some of the other tribes sometimes. And then Eshkar, it speaks of donkey. Its trait was hard work, endurance, known for wisdom and understanding of the times. Which I don't relate a donkey to that, but maybe. Zebulun speaks of their trait was a ship. They were known for being traders, or running different trade routes, not traders, but running trade routes. And they commanded the sea. They were ones that were run the trade routes in the sea. And they were a big economic influence with the tribes. And then we have Joseph, which is interesting. His inheritance splits. When Jacob gives the blessings to all his sons, he doesn't give Joseph a direct blessing, but he gives his 2 sons. So Joseph got a double blessing is really what it comes down to. And the first one was Ephraim, which means leadership or dominance. And then Manasseh meant growth or large territory on both sides and they had both sides of the Jordan. And and so as we look at it, Judah was known for governing. The Levites were known for their religious leadership. Gad and Ben were known for their military. Zebulun and Asher were economics, and Issachar was wisdom. And so, as we see God build the nation of Israel, He'll use these 12 tribes, and we didn't get to Benjamin, but He'll use these 12 tribes, and God will raise up a nation. And to this day, that nation is a thorn it's a thorn to all the nations. It's a stumbling block to the nations. And we see today there's a hatred that you can't explain for the nation of Israel. And it's even growing and happening in the church. I mean, just with what's going on with the war and everything, and with Israel and the U.S. fighting Iran, it's amazing to me how many people are turning not only against Israel, which they've already turned against Israel, but now they're really turning against Trump and our leadership. They're turning against America. And it's demonic. It is demonic, and so we need to be people of prayer. And anyway, we'll close with that, and we'll say goodbye to online family. Bye, Mom. And so hope the new camera worked out good.